Hello, friends, and welcome to Figure Study, where we appreciate the form in Transformers. And today, we're going back into knockoff territory with the Jiang. I'm sorry, I still don't know how to pronounce it properly. Their second attempt at a larger Age of Extinction movie version of Hound. And there have been a few different knockoffs of Hound over the past year or so, maybe a little bit longer than that. I was tempted to get several of them, and then I saw the pictures of this guy and was just like, well, I think that's the one for me. And I got him, and I don't think I was wrong. So I'll get into more of the particulars in robot mode, but vehicle mode, this looks a lot better than the Hasbro version that we got. I mean, it still, in my mind, looks like a military garbage truck, just because of the shape of it. But just the amount of detail on this thing looks so much better. And I'll be taking the weapons off in a few minutes, but you can see, like, the tires are painted. There's just the camo pattern all over the place. The molding is just as nice. You've just got more details that are picked out, and some of the ones that are picked out aren't quite as extreme, which I actually kind of like. Like how the bar here is a dark, almost black, instead of silver or gray. Like it stands out, but it doesn't stand out as much, which I think works because it's supposed to be a military vehicle. It's not supposed to be, garish. And I could say that, oh, the spare tire back here doesn't match the tires here, but I think the idea is that these are worn. They're possibly a little muddy, and I think that's great. I think that works really well. Yeah, overall, not bad. And, like, the rear even has painted taillights, which is nice. So yeah, I think this vehicle mode is definitely more successful than the Hasbro version. It is a little weird that they painted the camo on the smokestacks. I don't know if that's necessarily accurate to the vehicle itself, but it seems a little odd. And the side mirrors are green instead of silver or gray, but whatever. But like, you've got some nice little details here. I like that the plastic for the windows is much smokier. Like, if you see it from here, you can kind of see through it, but it's not super clear. And I think that works. I like that it's slightly tinted. And then, of course, we have all of the weapons that store on him. And yeah, unlike the Hasbro version, he actually stores, he has two knives for one thing, and they store underneath. He also stores his pistols that normally go in his boots underneath here because of the way he transforms. He just basically can't keep them in his boots. But yeah, this works well. It does. He even has an all-new weapon that goes up top here. He is a good-looking truck. Now, before I take the accessories off and we check that out, I'm going to bring in the Hasbro for comparison here, which I know comparison is not something I normally do, but I think in this case it's kind of warranted. Same thing with the accessories. You can see just like the size difference is pretty incredible. And you can also see how here on the front, the roll bar, or whatever you want to call it, is like a completely different piece of plastic, whereas here it's molded in. And I like that it just doesn't, like, there's not as much contrast with this version as with this version. I think that works well. And we'll get into more of the finer details once we get all of their stuff off of them. And I think, yeah, accidentally knocked one of these pistols out. So we're gonna get all this stuff off of them and then do another comparison. Right, and here we have the Jiang oversized, I guess, Voyager class, or Voyager-sized knockoff Hound without all of his stuff. Looks even more like a garbage truck, but you can still make out a lot of the nice patterning in there. And here we have the Hasbro Release. And you can see that in many cases the actual detailing is the same, it's just bigger. And I think that works pretty well. And I like how You know, my gripe with this guy was that the vehicle mode had like next to no painted detail on it. The tires didn't really have much, nothing really on the vehicle, just a little bit in the front. The back didn't have anything. Whereas here, he is completely covered in camo, and he's got those nicely painted tires, which I've mentioned. Like, just lots of little color variation throughout, all the textures the same, which is fine, because I like the texture. Yeah. He is a good-looking military garbage truck. A big military garbage truck when compared to his buddy. As for the weapons, they are, of course, larger, but they're also a little bit more detailed. Like here we have one of the oversized shotguns, and, you know, it's not a whole lot of paint on it, but there is some, and I appreciate how that just kind of makes all the details stand out a bit more. Whereas Hasbro version, it's not a bad, you know, not quite silvery gray color, you know, it's fine, but definitely appreciate the details on this more. And they both do the same thing where you can fold in the handles, and they store the same ways for either figure. Then we have the larger pistols, which again, same mold, but just better paint. And bigger, noticeably bigger. For the knives, what's interesting is the oversized Hound actually comes with 2 knives. And his knives are actually significantly different, because the original Hasbro version, you can see it's like this silver, kind of not a bad looking knife. It is kind of weird that this is the only silver bit for his weaponry. Everything else is just gray, but it's not a bad looking knife. But then we've got these knives, and this is something you don't want to mess with. That's got all kinds of sharp edges and channels and serrated bits on it. And of course it's larger. So yeah, the knife is definitely a lot cooler too. Then we also have the Gatling guns, which attach on the sides. So this is how they would attach in vehicle mode, and you can see here the handle actually folds down, which is nice. And transforms mostly the same way, except you flip the handle back. And then this all does, you know, behaves as normal, but it looks really nice. Like just these little painted bits up here around the ends, and just the nice little machinery details that were painted. The fact that the actual barrels have been painted black. It all just kind of helps every little detail of the gun stand out. That and the fact that it's huge. Whereas the Hasbro is, again, not bad. I mean, it's got pretty much the identical, like, the details are pretty much identical, but just the paint and the size makes it more interesting, I think. Now, I haven't taken the guns out of here because they're kind of wedged in and I don't want to transform them to get them out just yet, so I'll do the tiny pistol comparisons later. But Big Hound here does come with an all-new rifle. Kind of a double-barreled sniper rifle or something. And much like the Gatling gun, it actually unfolds, and you can, there are these tabs right here, you can pull that, and that pulls out, flips out an ammo clip. And that is a pretty cool looking gun. You know, I like that they created an all-original gun for this set, and that it folds up and just kind of incorporates itself into the vehicle mode. Like, if you didn't have this figure, you wouldn't know that this didn't actually come with it. It's really impressive that they did that. I really appreciate that. But anyway, yes, this guy is very cool. I'm still not a huge fan of Hound's vehicle mode overall, just because, like I said, it looks like a garbage truck. But this vehicle mode is much, much nicer when compared to this one. This one, I mean, I hate to say it because this is a good toy, either way, but honestly, this looks like something you get out of a Happy Meal compared to this thing. Just having that, you know, direct comparison is just leagues beyond. Yeah, good stuff. Anyway, that's it for the vehicle modes. Time to get to the good stuff. So I think the word you're looking for is wow. At least that's the word I'm looking for. I don't know. Maybe I'm just projecting. But wow. Now, I will admit up front, I do have a few issues with this guy. Most of them mechanical. You know, kind of like the Jiang Commander, their oversized Optimus Prime, because the transformation on this guy is a little scary in places, and I'm kind of already seeing a little bit of stress on the plastic in some places. Nothing major, just like a few tabs here and there, but I do have a few issues which I will point out when I get to that point on this guy. But I mean, this just is incredible. And yeah, I know I tend to make a point of not dealing with accessories, but it's Age of Extinction Hound, basically. Accessories are like half of the point. So yeah, this is remarkable. It is absolutely remarkable. Can't really think of a better way to explain it. He is so detailed and quite large, which we'll get into in a minute. But I mean, even just looking at the head, that head looks fantastic. Whoop. Sorry, trying to keep it steady. Like, it is very nice. And it does actually look up and down and around. It's very tight on mine, so I'm just kind of sticking to the simple left and right movement for now. He has his bullet cigar, which actually comes out. I'm thinking I may glue that in because it tends to pop out when he's in truck mode. He's got the dog tags here, which these are kind of weird to figure out where to store in truck mode. I just kind of tuck them behind the cab, in that, like, in between the spare tire and the snorkel thing, engine snorkel thing. But yeah, he just looks great, and they like painted details on the helmet. That face is movie Hound. I mean, that is so nice. And like, I'll get into these a little bit later, but like these bars along the sides here each have separate details on them. Like this one has little like flashbang looking things. This one has like an extra little magazine of bullets. And looks so good. The paint job is also very, very nice on this guy. I mean, a lot of it is still, you know, more camo, but there are some nice other mechanical details that are called out. The machine gun, grenade, bullets, whatever you want to call them, on his arms are still there. I do regret that in the Hasbro version, these were a separate piece that could swing back and forth, and here they're solid, so you can't actually, like, you can rotate the arm, which on mine, this particular arm is very tight for some reason, but like you can spin the arm, but it spins the whole arm. You can't just spin the ammunition there. But his forearms, and you know, we'll get into the comparisons in a minute here, but like his forearms are nicely detailed with the bullets there. Moving on to the legs, some nice painted details in there, and here you can see, again, the transformation is a little weird, but like here he's got the small pistols on the outside of his boots instead of on the inside, which again, we will get into with the direct comparisons. He also has the tactical vest that makes him look like he's got a belly. And this thing, I think this is fantastic because the vest, like the knife no, the grenades no, but the vest itself actually folds up as part of the transformation. This is attached to him. And you can kind of see underneath, knocked his gun out, you can kind of see underneath here that there is an armature that this is connected to. And that armature is what keeps this attached in his vehicle mode. So yeah, he's got just some really nice paint all over the place. He is an incredible looking dude. A little gappy from the side from certain angles, but you're not really going to be seeing him from those angles anyway. He's got, like, I love also on the back how they handled these panels here. These, you know, these in the Hasbro version, again, show that in the comparison in a minute, were attached to his hands. Here they actually fold back along those armatures that I showed off and become shoulder blades, and that looks fantastic to me. I am just an overall huge fan of how this guy turned out. They even managed to set it up so that there's a lot less truck panel back here, which is really impressive to me. And for a couple of other last bit of interesting things you can do, you can actually, yeah, come on, there we go. It's a little tricky, but you can do it. You can pull off his helmet. And even without the helmet, I mean, that looks like practically like, you know, in the movie when he got his helmet, when his helmet came off a couple of times. And you can see it's just very, very nicely detailed and painted. I don't quite know why there's the gap in the back. I think either it's a design thing or it's just intentional. Like, I don't know, maybe if it's... No, I was going to see if I could fit that way and like it's supposed to be a battle mask or something, but no. Still, very neat. This is a separate piece. I love that. Just, you can see also just more detail on the face, and it just looks so good. And the paint that they have going on the top of the head. He looks utterly fantastic. I'll just plug this back on his noggin. And it's just held in place by these two pegs in there that go in the slots on top of his head. It's a little tight, but not that hard to take on and off. So yeah, he is just absolutely amazing. And now for comparison, here is the Hasbro Hound, and again, size is like, the size alone is a huge difference, but I mean, proportionally, this, like, I really love this guy's gut-looking thing. The fact that he just appears bulkier, even though it's largely the same transformation. And you can see on the back of this Hound, you don't have those shoulder blades. You've got the slightly larger chunks of truck. And there are these panels over his hands, and his arms are kind of at slightly weird. They're like at this slightly weird angle where they kind of come up a little bit, which is strange. Although I will say one thing I have got to hand to the Hasbro version, he actually has a double jointed elbow. So there's like a hinge here and a hinge down here, which is very handy. Whereas you stand. Whereas this guy, and I'll show it on this arm because it's easier, because for whatever reason, the hinge on this arm is very, very loose on mine. Like you can see, it's just, that is super loose, and I don't like that. It's much tighter on the other arm. But anyway, you can see here he's just got the one hinge. So he's not quite as posable in that regard, but he doesn't have that weird arm jaggy thing, and he doesn't have the giant panels on his fists. And you can see in the underside they actually put in a panel to fill in his arm, which stand him up. You can see here you've got this going on, which is just meh. Yeah, I mean, just the comparison between these two is absolutely ridiculous, because there is no comparison. But it just looks so good. Oh, and also, just because you can see this guy's face, not terrible, you know, not by any means, but just doesn't quite have that same, like, it doesn't have anywhere near the same level of detail. It doesn't have the cigar or anything like that. Whereas this guy, like, just so much better. I do kind of wish that the beard was a little bit of a different color than the rest of the green, which, I mean, I don't know if this is movie accurate or not. It's been a while since I've seen the movie, but if we're just a little bit of a different color, like maybe a little darker or a little lighter, something to help it stand out more, I think it would be nice. But other than that, I mean, the sculpt is fantastic. And I love the paint they did on the face and the head other than the beard. And now to talk about what actually sold me on this figure, because I did not know that this was part of the transformation. What legitimately sold me on the oversized Hound was his feet, of all things. Because if you notice, his feet are actually the truck tires. The tires, the wheels, they actually unfold and become his toes. And that is so freaking cool to me. Posability on them is fine. You also have these heels back here from the back of the truck. You can kind of see there that are, you know, you can kind of adjust them a little bit to help keep him stable. He's actually quite stable, despite the fact that he's so bulky and kind of oddly shaped. And also his torso, the truck, like the actual cab of the truck, is die cast. I forgot to mention that before, but yeah, this center mass of his body is actually where all of the weight is, so he does a pretty darn good job of standing, considering. Yeah, his feet are totally what sold me, because I love the fact that the tires transform into toes. Whereas with this guy, you can see they just kind of faked it. And these are just panels from the side of the truck that swing out, and he's still actually got the tires there. Keep him there. But yeah, and this guy, he's just got tire toes, and it's so fantastic. So fantastic. And now, I think that's enough of a direct comparison between these two. I'll lay him down so he doesn't fall over while I'm doing anything on the table here. So now, a couple more things to mention on Big Hound here. He does have slightly nicer hands, where he's got movable wrists and fingers that actually are posable. It's a little bit weird, like he's got this tab here, which I think is meant to help him with gripping things. But the problem is that none of the weapons he has actually have any kind of tab in the handle, or slot in the handle. So you can see here, he's holding the knife with that, if I fold those back, you can see that's what's holding the knife in place. And it's fine, but it's a little weird because when you see him from straight on, it just looks a little awkward how he's holding it. I mean, it's nothing, massive or anything like that. It's not a huge thing. It's just a little bit weird. A little off. But yeah. He holds everything fine from what I've been able to tell, and almost forgot. Almost forgot we're supposed to do. Come on. Let go. There we go. We're supposed to do tiny pistol comparisons, because I didn't do that in truck mode. Get the thing out of here, and you can see here, he keeps the tiny pistols on the insides of his boots. He keeps them on the outside. But here you can see the tiny gray and large green with black paint. Same detailing and all that, just, bigger and more paint on it, or actual paint on it. Okay, now one last thing I want to go over. Going to put all of his guns together to make the really big gun, and it's going to be a little tricky because I still haven't quite figured out the best way to incorporate this into it, because the instructions don't really help. But I'm going to show that off real quick. Okay, this is where things get a little tricky. So here we have the official Hasbro Hound giant gun, which is cool looking. I mean, it's all kind of one color except for the silver for the bayonet looking thing, but not a bad looking giant gun. Then we have the significantly larger Jiang, whatever gun, and this is just like overkill. I mean, it was overkill before, but it's overkill now. And I mean, there's no, like I said, the instructions don't help with putting any of this together, but I figure since there are 2 knives, put them up here instead of putting one down here. Problem is, I cannot figure out for the life of me how to get this to stay anywhere. Like, I've tried, like there are these little peg holes on the pistols here. I've tried using the little holes, not peg holes, but pegs here. I've tried using the holes for the screws on this gun to see if maybe that can kind of work, but it doesn't quite line up. And then you can kind of get it on there, but it doesn't stay particularly well, and it's just kind of like it's going up, which doesn't look right. I've tried to see if I could like use the fold-out clip or the fold-out handle for anything. That doesn't seem to work. There's this, which it uses to peg into the side of the truck. I thought maybe I could get it in here, but that doesn't really work either, just because of the way things line up. Like, you can see if I try to do it, it just doesn't, like it kind of goes in, but it doesn't stay. And also there's all this junk in the way. So yeah, I mean, I just have no freaking clue how this is supposed to attach. Like maybe I can just kind of wedge it in there. Maybe. No, that doesn't really, because of the clearances involved with this stuff, that doesn't really work. I don't know. I swear I've seen promotional shots of this guy with this attached, and it's like attached on the top, but there's nothing that it actually can, like I've tried all kinds of things to get it to sit along the top here, and it just doesn't work. So I don't know if I'm missing something, but there's just, like, there are places I can put it where it kind of sits, but it doesn't peg in or anything like that. Like there, that looks like it could be intentional, but like if as soon as I move my finger, it's just gonna fall off. So I don't know. I'm sorry. I tried. I thought maybe like use the scope down here, but there's not enough space between these two for this to fit. And this is too, like, this doesn't peg in either. So I just don't know. And that irritates me because I feel like I should be able to attach this here somewhere. It just doesn't seem to go. Yeah. I don't know. It stinks, and I'm sorry, but the giant gun still looks cool. And that will just about do it for Jiang's oversized knockoff 2.0, whatever you want to call it, version of Age of Extinction Hound. This guy looks so freaking incredible. And I mean, yeah, he's got a few little, like I do have some mechanical gripes with him. A few parts are a little too tight, a few parts are a little too loose. Transforming him in places, a little bit scary. But I mean, the results are just phenomenal. I mean, it's just incredible. So yeah, I mean, if you're thinking about it, if you have been thinking about getting a larger Hound, I mean, a lot of people have been saying it's a shame that this guy doesn't scale properly with the oversized Evasion Optimus Prime that Jiang put out, and I guess that is a shame, but this guy is still quite large and just so fantastic, just so much detailing. It's just like the legs, the feet specifically, the fact that you've got this thing built in, it's fantastic. And the only accessories that you don't have proper like immediate storage for in vehicle mode are these little grenades here and the dog tag and the dog tags. And then you can just toss them off to the side or wedge them both behind the truck cab and like between the tire and the snorkel. It works pretty easily that way. Just don't like tip it over. But anyway, yeah. That has been my look at Jiang's second attempt at an oversized Hound, and it is just incredible. Again, I'm just going to keep saying it's incredible. Sorry. Anyway, Thank you everybody for watching. As per usual, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Any combination of those three will make me a happy Rob. And remember, art is more than meets the eye.